Over here in the corner.
Time to go.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic,
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we started tonight. Do a roll call of officers. I'm here.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay, Mark?
Me too.
Mark's here too. All right,
Where is he? Oh, there he is.
yeah.
Wanna go around the-
Secretary's report.
General membership meeting, February 21st, 2023. Meeting was called to order at 7:08 by President Jerry Baker. A roll call of officers was called, and those in attendance were Jerry Baker, myself, Bobby, and Mark Oliver. There were 19 members present for the meeting and 4 watching on Zoom. A treasurer's report was called for and given by the treasurer, who reported that we have a balance of $4,871.03 on deposit. A reading of the minutes of the last meeting was given. Under old business, the president brought up the fact that there are still many members that have not paid their dues yet. And as by the emailing that went out to those members, they have until March 1st to do so. Afterwards, they will be dropped from membership rolls. Also under old business, it was asked if the repeater team are in communication with one another and plans for the upkeep and such on our repeaters. Brandon reported that they are. Clayton gave a report on field day about his concerns of space to set up tents and displays. Clayton stated that he will get in touch with the city to find out exactly what is available for field day. It was then brought up about sharing costs with MSCG and asked if they were any problems with doing that. There were no comments made, so a motion was to share expenses with MSCG was made and seconded. A vote was taken and passed. The next item on the agenda was the bylaws. The president brought up the fact that the last revision was done in 2013 and that there are some issues with them. One being that you must be a member for 1 year before running for office, and it has been suggested that that be changed to 2 years. The president asked for 3 volunteers to serve on the bylaws committee along with the board of directors, and the following members volunteered: Tim Knight, Mark Smith, and Jeff Parker. The president then asked if there was any other old business. Bobby stated that if anyone present had not yet paid their dues, to see her to do so and see the secretary if they needed an application for membership. The president called for any new business. There was none brought up. So the floor was turned over to Al Smith for an informative training presentation. Now asked that in the future, any members that have items they would like to share with the club, such as projects, information, etc., please bring them before the club. During his show and tell program, various nets were discussed and their different formats of information available. For his show and tell portion, he brought a hot dog skewer and told how he converted it into a 2-meter antenna. A good discussion on various types of homemade antennas ensued afterwards. The president brought up 2 last items before the close of the meeting. One was that GCRC was asked for MOU to use our repeaters, both the 2-meter and the 440. The matter will be discussed at the next board meeting. And last, we've been asked to supply people for the crim race again this August. And around the room was called for final comments, and seeing none, the meeting was closed at 7:55 p.m.
Can you guys on Zoom hear us?
I can now, yeah.
Okay. All right. I have a motion to accept the secretary's report. So moved. Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Treasurer's report.
We have as of the 9th of March, $4,978.64.
Okay. Thank you, Roberta. And you're going to be gone for a couple of while, aren't you?
April and May,
Okay. So you will be gone April and May.
but I can maybe Zoom.
Well, we'll see.
I have another meeting.
Okay.
At the same time for another group I'm involved with.
Okay. Mr. Oliver, do you have anything to report from member at large?
No, sir, I don't.
All right. That'll bring us on down to old business, which is going to be a hot topic. Old business today has to do with the bylaws or constitution. It was sent out not for you to elect it as a part of the office, but to look at it and discuss it and recommend changes or modifications to it or with it and submit them back into us. After today, we are going to appoint a committee of 6 people, 3 of whom were involved with the initial draft of these proposals and 3 others to come up with a final version to submit to the membership through the board of directors. Do we have any discussion regarding the Constitution? There's been a zillion emails out there, so let's put it on the table.
Those that were are not here.
I'm listening. Yeah,
It's been brought up to me, and I think I, even in some of the email, the section mentioning the emergency coordinator probably should be dropped from it. I mean, we don't really need a emergency coordinator. You know,
that's something that could be submitted to the group because there's other things. As an example, there is no discrimination clause in this Constitution.
There's no electronic meeting. clause.
There is nothing for electronic meetings like this one in Zoom and stuff like that. So technically, we shouldn't be having Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
So that all has to get rolled into the new one. And whether we need a constitution or bylaws has yet to be determined because you don't have to have both. And we did confirm, at least Roberta did, it's a 501c7
We are C7.
with the IRS.
Club is.
The club is.
Good.
So that makes a big difference in it because of
Michigan says it's-
finances and stuff like that, and other things. So any more discussion on the proposals that were sent out?
Well, I'll agree that the emergency coordinator seems a bit redundant. But I see nothing in the rules that prohibits their use.
Frank, do you have anything?
He's
John?
muted. He's muted.
He muted himself. I'll take him off mute.
There you go.
Yeah, there was something in there about if, in the event that the club, discontinues being a club, that how the equipment, I guess that would be repeater equipment, stuff like that, how it would be disposed of. And,
Yes, sir.
somebody brought up the point that maybe it should, go to a 501c3 organization rather than just to give it to somebody, which it looked pretty vague.
The nice thing about being a 501c7 is we can give it to anybody we want. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the written constitution as it is right now turns everything over to ARRL. And let's be honest, the ARRL is not going to want our repeater and stuff like that. They're just going to want our money. So my thoughts are is give it to somebody who's going to use it in the area.
Right.
That's my thought, but that's for everybody to decide.
Well, I was gonna propose that the actual repeater itself, if it goes to another radio club, would be one thing.
Right.
But if it does not, and the proceeds have to be done, then I think the repeater should be dismantled and sold off.
That's
Well, you've also got to realize that donating a repeater to another organization doesn't mean anything because coordination does not go with the equipment.
Well,
unless you
no,
take,
but
unless you
the
donate
equipment
to site
itself-
two.
But the equipment itself, we could, but
You can't transfer the coordination.
Oh, you can't
That has
transfer.
to be done.
no.
Even
So
if it's
you
in
have
the
to
same,
coordinate that through Mark. Because you might own the equipment, but you don't own the coordination.
even if it's in the same site, and the
It
same
doesn't
frequency.
matter. You still have to file the paperwork with Mark to transfer the coordination.
Okay,
Yeah, but I think though that all you'd have to do is file the paperwork when you, Clay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, what you could do is you can have, if you look at the Mark paperwork, when you file your annual report, John knows what I'm talking about, it says successor.
Yeah.
On the form, you can name your successor. So that you don't have to go through all of that.
Yeah.
If you decide not, you know. You know what I'm talking about though, John?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's almost like
hopefully
we gotta pick
we
a
don't have
successor
to
now.
come to that.
I don't think you'll ever have to come to that point.
Yeah.
It's
I
safe
don't
to have
foresee it.
that,
I don't foresee it, so.
it's safe to have that cleared up.
I know what the people that are screaming about that clause, I know what their problem is, but Their problem is the fact that there are some people in this room that have dual membership. And they're concerned that the other club is gonna want to take over, and I don't think that's the case.
If you're considering MSCG as the other club, I, as the treasurer of that organization, and Mr. Clayton Hewitt sitting right there, who's the president of the organization, and Jeff, who's sitting back there in the back, who's the member at large, can all attest to, we are not looking to take over GCRC.
You know that. I know
Well, I just
that.
put it out there, Clay.
Some people don't know that.
There's no intention. All we're doing is looking out for your best interest to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. You've survived this many years. I'd like to see you survive another this many years. I mean, you guys have been in existence since 1933. Who
Right.
wants to destroy that?
Right.
10 years. it's
But-
over.
But my point was electing a new board member every year puts yourself at risk, because by the time that board member figures out what his position is and his
Mhm.
responsibility is,
He's no longer got.
he's out of office.
Yeah,
Right,
So if you go 2-year office and half your board is elected on the even year, and half your board is elected on the odd year, you don't run that risk.
right. Mhm.
That was my only recommendation.
That's what our train collectors club does.
Additionally, we also have to have the member at large as elected as a board member, so that there are a right number of people in office.
Right, you want to have an odd number of board members.
So right now,
Otherwise, the even and odd doesn't work.
yeah, right now, in
In ties all the time. Yeah.
right now, and according to the Constitution, we only have 3 board members. That's
3
according
board
to
members or 3 officers?
3 board members, well, officers. The president can appoint additional people, but 3 elected officers. So I think we need to take a look at that as well.
Maybe we could add a couple of trustees. A lot of organizations do that.
Okay,
Yep, it's called the Board of Trustees.
Yep,
And
we can do that.
Universities do it every day.
that's why we're talking about this. We're trying to get all this out in the open so we can get some people working on it. Got a whole bunch of people on mute. You guys got anything to say?
I like the trustee thing. Our church does that. I'm a trustee for our church.
Frank, you got anything?
Yeah, I could go with the trustee thing.
Jeff?
Jeff's right there.
No, not that Jeff. Mativa,
He's muted.
yeah, don't want to talk to us. Noah?
Muted.
No mic.
Oh, no, Mike, that's why.
John?
Well, like I said, I'm good with the trustee idea. I belong to I belong to the Knights of Columbus. We have trustees. Or in fact, we have 1st-year trustee, 2nd-year trustee, and 3rd-year trustee. And so you rotate in and out of those over 3 years as they're so numbered. And then I belong to an airport association that always has 2 trustees, and that way you can add as many as you want, but the idea, like someone else brought up, is to have an odd number of board members so that you can always break a tie if need be.
Right, that's correct.
Might also point out that don't confuse the board trustees with the station license trustees.
No,
They are completely different issues.
which is something we put in there about the station license trustee is responsible for the station license, not the repeater. And that's what it needs to be. I've talked to John on the phone. He is presently the trustee of the club license. We are going to be moving that, my understanding. Is that right, John?
if somebody wants to take it.
Yeah, our lovely lady over here taking care of the money. She stuck her hand up in a meeting not too long ago. That was all she took.
I think she was scratching her arm.
Well, yeah. You know how it works in my meetings. Ask Al Smith how it works in my meetings.
Yeah, make your
But-
own move.
That's
Like an auction.
appointed by the president.
Yep.
So whoever's gonna take it,
Yes,
okay,
she's been appointed.
okay.
Backing up just 1 second here, the officers of the club, according to the Constitution, the member at large is a board member.
is a board member, but he's not an elected official.
He's not an elected official, but he is a board
So
member.
that gives you four.
Yep.
You need a fifth. No, we need an odd
Well,
number.
no,
But
no,
now,
the president normally doesn't vote.
Right.
Just to break a tie.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes,
You have a president, a secretary,
and a
and
treasurer.
a treasurer
We have vice president.
Currently that are elected.
that are elected.
That are elected.
Why don't you guys consider adding to your constitution a vice president? So you would have a president, a vice president, your secretary, your treasurer, and your director at large. There's your five.
oh, we used to have
It's-
8 positions, but nobody would run for anything.
I was the
Mhm.
second vice president in 1987, and I'm not even on the list. When you go down the website,
Yeah.
I'm not even on there.
We can modify any way we want, what we want to do and bring this back to the membership for a vote. It has been brought up and I concur. But again, here it is to the membership that when we have the vote for this bylaws or constitution, that vote be in person. Since we do not have an electronic voting system set up. Now, after that bylaw is created, we will have an electronic system, but until then, we don't. So we're pushing the limits with Zoom and that kind of stuff. So that's something for everybody to give it thought. Any other comments, questions, concerns? What ifs? John,
My trusteeship, I also inherited, I guess, all the club history and everything.
well, bless your heart.
I took it, because I didn't want it.
No, we don't want to disappear.
So I don't know if the new trustee wants all that too, or
That's right.
So we are renaming you as club historian.
Pardon?
We're gonna rename you as the club historian. So
Sure.
you can keep the history.
New board position, club historian.
Oh,
Oh, that's between you and Chuck, because he's the one that said, Chuck DeFoe. He said you're the official club historian.
Well, we'll work that out one way or another.
Mhm.
Any other what ifs or nuts? Going once, going twice. Now I'm looking for 6 people to work on this.
You got the first 3, right?
Well, is it you?
Well, you got me and Mark Smith and who's the other? third one? Huh?
I'll do it.
Who's I'll do it?
Frank said that.
Carl Collier.
Okay, so we got Carl.
Oh,
Frank, is it Frank or Carl?
It's actually both.
Take a look. I got Frank here.
Carl Frank Collier. My dad named me.
Oh, well, that's a good thing. Jeff P. Mark O.
I'm intentionally.
Yes, you are not.
stepping
You
down
are.
Because I hold a board position on MSCG and I don't want a conflict of interest.
No, that's
Mark
fine.
S. I need 2 more.
Who's the fourth?
We have Frank, Jeff P., Mark Oliver, Mark Smith.
Raise your hand, Dave.
I will.
yeah.
Oh, boy, Dave.
Who's the other?
Last name, Dave?
MHGA.
Ah, okay, I know you. See, I never see these faces. That's my problem. All right. And as per the Constitution or the bylaws, or even Robert's lovely old book order, rules of order, which, by the way, is a huge friggin' book. The president is a de facto member of any organization, but I don't intend to have any input of any account to this this committee. I'm just gonna kind of sit back and observe and kind of maybe guide a little bit if something starts to change to the office, if that's okay with everybody here.
Sounds
I don't
good.
hear any complaints. All right,
Sounds all right, good to me.
I'm only counting 5.
yeah, well, I'm 6.
Oh, you're gonna be the 6th.
I'll be 6, but I mean, we got 5. We can't get 6. We haven't got a 6th one. If somebody wants to raise their hand after this, we can add them to it.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe to get out of this dual membership thing that you guys draft up a conflict of interest. I know you don't want to do that. I think maybe you should.
We need to think about that because it depends on, I think a conflict of interest would be if, the treasurer held both, sites,
Would definitely be conflict of interest.
but would another officer be an issue?
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Yeah.
I think it is with some.
I think
It's
it
gonna
would
be
be,
brought up
I
because
think it'd be an
mentioned-
issue with common treasurer on both.
Yes,
You got a conflict of interest because you're handling funds,
Right.
right, but I
but
don't think the other officers.
it's no different than the nonprofit that I work for, which is a 501(c)(3). We have 3 nonprofits. The board is, all those board members are common except for the treasurer on each one.
Yeah.
The treasurer on each one of those boards is different because they don't want a conflict of interest.
I think if we wanted a conflict of interest in there, we could say that the person doesn't have a matching position in another club.
Yeah, she's right. You
Yeah.
wanna have the conflict of interest clause in it.
Yeah, but I mean, matching position, like I couldn't be president over there and president here,
Correct.
Right. Mhm.
that kind of thing. I think that because we're gonna limit ourselves if we do. All right. Yes, sir.
I have someone on Zoom, Jeff, that's all, muted, and I have no idea who it is.
That's Jeff Mateva. Yeah, he's muted.
KVSWR,
I think so.
you sure it's Mativa?
Yeah, it came up earlier. Jeff, is that you?
Yes, it is.
There he is. You got any thoughts, Jeff?
I do, but I think I should just keep my comments to myself.
Well, that's your call.
Please share.
All right, here goes. Jerry, why did you want to be president of that club?
Nobody else wanted the job and they were gonna fold.
Right.
Okay. Well, I commend you for taking that club over then, I guess, and hopefully, it withstands the test of time.
Well, we're gonna try. But when I got a hold of Roberta for one reason or another, and she informed me that if they didn't have a president, the club was gonna fold, and I didn't see that happening for a club. It's been around since 1933. So I told her, if you can't get anybody else, I'll take it.
I hope it stays around as a club, as Genesee County Radio Club for the next 50 years or more.
We'll see why it shouldn't, as long as we can get people to fill the offices.
You know,
Anybody else?
I have a question for Jeff. Why do you ask, Jeff?
I'm sorry I missed that.
Why do you ask that question?
It just seems like a conflict of interest with other clubs and organizations.
So going back to the dual, the conflict of interest that we're talking about putting in the Constitution, you don't agree with what we're talking about?
I think there should be a conflict of interest clause in there.
Okay, but I mean, as far as him being part of one club and part of another. Or
I'm
do you
not a
agree?
member, so it's kind of tough for me to make my comments, I think, but from an outsider looking in, as an amateur radio operator, I just don't want to see a club
Okay.
fold, if you will, or go elsewhere.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Anything else, folks? All right, so we're gonna close out that one and go on to what? New business?
No, you gotta cover old business.
I think we just did. What else is out there?
Elms Road Park will not lend itself to field day.
So I was gonna hit field day separate. item.
I had another
Jeff
idea.
was right when he had concerns about the new bike path and all the remodeling that they did to the park.
Yep,
Oh, it's not gonna work very well for us.
okay. Roberta, you say you got an idea for field day?
So, may have the same problem because it's walking paths, but the new Monday Township Commons on Hill Road next to Home Depot.
Okay,
Problem with that is they close it at night. Think we could get them to leave it open for us?
I don't know. I don't know anything about
Or
it.
would that be a good thing to leave it closed at night? And I don't know what time they close it, but I went by there one night about 10 o'clock and it was closed.
I have a question. Did you guys do your field day at Madison?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
You live next door, don't you?
across the street,
Across
no,
the
next
street.
door.
I live in the subdivision across the street and she lived right next door.
It worked fine too.
To allowing us to use it this year?
I would
They,
think.
they, yeah, they'll let you use it. I mean, as far as the school,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll let you use it. I just gotta call the principal and ask and tell her what weekend
What,
it is,
might it be better?
Let's
just
get her
to-
set up.
you know,
So we got to nail down. Get it set up, Jeff.
so.
Only reason I know it's a Romine group, my son was the first valedictorian in the senior class that graduated from Madison.
Oh,
So,
I mean, it was a good facility. There's plenty of room if people want to spread out because they got that field, but the only problem is the field is down low.
yes.
You know,
And there's
but
no
where-
trees.
Where we are around the school, I mean,
There's,
we've only had 2 or 3 people every year, so it really,
there's pine trees all around the whole.
Al
place.
goes out back to his little secret hiding hole in the pine trees
Well,
there.
most of those trees
Get
appear
to
to be
feed
on a
up
different
just in
property.
about 5 minutes, and we're all out here trying to make a single
We'll
contact.
paint it for Roberta's house.
We'll just
I
make a
have a
step
suggestion.
from it.
I just get down the basement, throw the master switch and go in the generator and I'm set.
But I mean, we don't have access to the building or anything, but what we've done in the past is just got a porta potty
Yeah,
delivered,
well,
just for something to have.
we've already agreed to share the expenses, so.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been run, what, about $125, $30?
Head it up,
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
So,
It was a-
Head it
I
up.
have a suggestion.
Speak.
Yeah, you know, Kersley Park is got a pavilion there, the Donnelly Pavilion. It's right there in Flint. It's with the park adopters and that, so it's readily available.
Okay.
During the day, it might be safe in that pavilion, but after dark, you don't want to be there. Look at the Flint police blotter.
yeah,
That's not true. I live right next by it and there's issues, but it's not, you know, that's outlying communities in Flint that talk like that. I'm sorry about that, but
I lived in Flint. I've been there till 58 years.
yeah, well, you haven't lived the last 12, have you? So.
All right, let's keep going.
Oh, I live in Flint, literally.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Look into
There was
it.
one year the Genesee Area Skill Center was being considered on Torrey Road.
Yep.
Skill Center would be a nice location if they'd let us use it.
They charge a
Yeah.
million gazillion dollars.
I'm hoping after this year, we can use this place.
Oh,
Okay.
that's. what-
After this year. I want to make sure we got a smooth sailing with this church and everybody in it for the first year. And after that, then we can talk to them about it. Because we're gonna be here, what, Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Well, Sunday is obviously church day and they have 2 services here. But we can be down there at the south end, west end rather, west end. And maybe set up and not have a problem with it.
That's the West End.
I don't know. west or
Yeah.
which.
But on the other hand, you know, like I said, with the Madison, if we wanted to use that next year, just to give you guys an idea, there's as much, if not more room than this at Madison. And it's huge back there.
Jeff, I'm gonna charge you with checking it out.
I
and
got
setting it
her
up.
number on my phone, so. I
You
can
got
call her. Yeah, the principal, all I gotta do is just let her know what's going on. She'll say, fine. Actually, the secretary gave me permission last year. She said, you guys did year before, didn't you? Yeah, she said, that's fine.
Any other stuff for old business? Okay, new business. I have been in contact with the Krim people. I'm expecting a letter within the next 2 weeks requesting our services. Once I get that, I'll put the word out for it for the Krim. It'll be set up a lot like last year. If I run it, it'll be the meeting place will be at Powers High School, just like it was this year.
Okay.
Worked out real well.
What about the organizational meetings? Where will they be?
We will have 1 or 2. We're not going to have a whole year's worth
Where will they be?
right here.
Sounds good.
I just have to make the changes or something like that. We have them right here. If not, my house.
It works too, because the size of the meetings that we've had, they'd almost fit in my apartment.
Well, see, what we can do is we can fire up the grill and break out the cooler with the beer in it. We can really.
Oh, that's good.
Cheer yourselves.
Any other new business, folks?
What about the food drive you were talking about?
We haven't got that far yet. I'm waiting to talk to them about it, but they do have a food drive here starting in March, I think, May,
May.
April. Anyhow, it's like the 3rd Saturday of the month. And it's not really a drive. It's they get the food bank to come over here and dump out a semi or 2 semis full of stuff. And they set up in this parking lot down here on tables and let the people come through, and we actually do the shopping for them. They just pull up to the spot. Last time I worked it, we had 230 families come through. And there's everything from meat, canned goods and everything, and they could use people to help pass it out, set it up and all that kind of stuff.
They do this during the week or on the weekend?
On the weekend. On the weekend. And it's a case of you need to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning to get started. And you park at the church next door. Nobody parks here. Park at the church next door. There's a trail through the woods or weeds between the two. But it's a lot of fun, and usually you get fed afterwards. Pizza, peanut butter sandwich. Swamp water. Okay. That takes care of the new business side of things, unless anybody else has something else. Going once? Going twice? Okay, let's do a roundtable, John. In it?
I have that old that I'll let you look through. When we did this the last time,
Okay,
that was 2010.
yeah, we got one here, it's 2013. Yeah. Good deal.
George, WAACYT.
John, W-A-Y-C.
Anything, you got anything for you guys? Comments, questions? That's what this is, roundtable. Guess not.
Dave, any MME? Nothing.
Ron, NACAJ.
Mark, N-A-R-E-A.
Clayton,
Clayton, KF8UI, I have nothing.
yep,
Scott, KE8WUL, first call sign is, St. Patrick's Day.
congratulations, welcome to the zoo.
Al, WBA-YOD. Dave, KE8WSW. Jeff, NAJC.
Craig? Greg,
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg, KE5ALF.
Bobby,
W8TSX.
Jeff,
Jeff, KE8 ICG, I have nothing.
Al,
Al, KD8DEU.
Don,
Yeah, WA8ALQ, and Al, I like your trains in the background there.
Old Lionel.
Yeah,
My-
yeah,
from
I'm a
my
Lionel.
childhood, Yeah.
I know this has nothing to do with the net, but I'm a Lionel collector myself, so
Well,
that
maybe-
didn't escape me.
well, maybe the three of us need to talk, because I got a set that's back from the 40s. All right, going down the list. Frank,
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Noah, you don't have a mic, do you? No, oh, no mic. Okay, that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Going to do a presentation?
I don't think Al's got stuff to do a presentation, does Al?
Well,
No.
I was informed that there would be a roundtable, that there would be an extended discussion on the bylaws. So personally, I am not prepared, but I have been in email contact with Greg
Yeah.
about his antenna unit, auto antenna unit that he had built.
Yep.
From a kit. And I asked him if he would be so kind as to do a short presentation on that kit.
Did you bring your show and tell?
No, Al and I were discussing that, and I sent him an email, and I wasn't positive what the turnout was gonna be tonight as far as discussions. So I didn't bring it. I built a automatic tuner, and I was gonna bring it and show it.
It's.
Next week.
Yeah, next month.
And still keep going a little bit more there, Greg. It's an extremely reasonable.
Talk about the installation of it and everything else, like you had it here.
Well, I haven't actually hooked it up to an antenna yet. All I did was build it from a bunch of parts and hooked it up to power to make sure that it worked. The only bad thing about it was it's a kit. So as long as you've got a basic knowledge of electronics, you can assemble it, because the instructions leave a lot to be desired. Let's say, I mean, if you don't, yeah, you gotta have a little bit of basic knowledge, you know, what gets wired where and what goes where, and
Did you get it from IKEA?
yeah. And not only that, but the fact is, once you get it all assembled, there's nothing to tell you how to use it.
Oh,
I mean, it's got, you know, an auto and a bypass, and if you don't know which buttons to push and how to set it, how to program it, but I did find a blurb that somebody else had posted going, hey, you know what, nobody ever printed this, but this is how it works.
All right.
But for $35, I figured it was a lot better to build one than it was to spend all them hundreds of dollars for one.
That's one of my major complaints nowadays. It's, used to be you got a nice owner's manual that told you how to do everything. Nowadays, it's watch a YouTube video.
Yeah,
So, question,
Not exactly.
what is the power rating on that?
well, it says 100 watts.
Oh,
I looked at your photos and it looked more like QRP to me.
I don't know, it says 100 watt, but I'm kind of wondering about that. And like I said, the first time, once I started assembling everything, I was putting all the relays in. And, well, I showed you, I flipped it over and one of those little one mic capacitors on the bottom was crushed. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I had to contact the guy who designed it and told him what had happened. He goes, well, I'll send you another board, which he did. It only took me like 3 days to get another board, but here I am,
Yeah.
after I'd sit there and did all these windings.
Wow.
But I'm anxious to find out though. Like I said, I hooked it up to the 12 volts and it lights up and it tells me that, you know, it goes through its little things, but whether or not it's with an antenna hooked up to it, what's gonna happen, I'll find out. I'm teasing, I said, I think I'll hook it up to my mobile, you know.
What's its, SWR acceptance range?
That I don't know. It wasn't in, nothing, like I said, it's not listed. I mean, it's,
Some of the things I've read on that, it's almost up to 9 or 10.
now, Al, didn't you buy one too, for you and your son?
Yes, I did.
Did it say anything?
And not only that, if you go on Amazon, there's a whole lot of kits on there, amplifier kits. There's an amplifier kit, $23, 70 watts. So if you like to run QRP with like a Zigu or something, that you can really pump that up real cheap. But the caveat is that you've got to purchase an add-on low pass filter. Because these things are not FCC compliant when it comes to spectral purity. You've got to have that low pass filter on it. But for $23, they give you all the parts, they give you the circuit board, they give you the toroids, the transistors, everything to get you, the connectors, they're SMA, but nonetheless, $23.
Yeah.
You can't put that.
You couldn't buy it, you couldn't get that just in parts.
And there's not just one kit, there are several of them. So by all means, do a search on Amazon and eBay also has got these. I'm gonna go get one of those too and we'll have fun with that. Because there's some. Unbelievable.
Okay.
Just shipped it in and out.
Anything else, folks? On Zoom. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Have a good night, folks. Thank you for coming. Thanks.
There we go.
They're all the same.
This is.
There's a real
Yeah.
change.
Well, this is. the old one. They're sort of talking this now.
Put it on the scale.
That, but
The ways and
first
grains.
price,
Yep.
technical.
Double
director,
degree.
Yeah.
Put a sunset.
I don't know if you.
What's that?
Yeah. If I can model it.
This is the one that.
David.
President.
Approximately 2 cents.
That year.
Make it not too.
Election.
Yeah.
Election guy, and this guy went and changed. We lost 15 members first meeting. Well, the next meeting, I mean, we almost wiped out.
First meeting we had here, we had 26 people. We had at least this many last time. But I think having a building like this,
Oh, yeah. This
and if we ever, we grow this room down the hall there, the hall. And it's about 300 people.
St. Patrick's Day dinner.
Yeah. And we have free coffee. Thank you, sir.
My,
An icon?
of all the USA.
Okay.
By the way, that turns yellow if it gets like.
Field day law.
No,
58 on,
Yellow.
but I did a lot of stuff.
The,
I'm gonna lean on you for